Welcome to Sonographers in the Cities, where we connect through sound with your hosts, Lynn and Giselle.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Sonographers in the Cities. I'm Giselle.
And I'm Lynn.
And today we have a very special guest for you guys. We have Jen here. She's going to show us all these things about businesses and things with ultrasound. She is the best coach out there if you guys have seen her Instagram. And we just wanted to welcome her onto the podcast.
Thank you, ladies, so much. I am so excited to be here tonight.
Yes. Tell us a little bit about yourself. She has a podcast and she is the expert here, and we want her to share everything that she knows in the little bit of time that we have with her. But if you haven't heard her podcast, you guys should go check it out and just let us know a little bit about it, Jen.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have actually had my own ultrasound business here in Indiana for almost 20 years. This February is going to be 19, which I can't believe. And we started our coaching division, which is what most people probably know me from, is our coaching division, probably about 15 years ago. That's where I spend most of my time. I absolutely love it. It is such a joy for me to work with sonographers across the country, starting their businesses. So I work with people from, the startup phases all the way through people that, have businesses that are looking to grow and kind of need some guidance. I started my podcast about 2 or 3 years ago, really to get more information out there, because if anyone listening has ever considered starting their own ultrasound business and has tried to Google how to do that, you have probably become more confused than when you actually started researching. And so it's my goal to be the Google for ultrasound. It's the reason why I started my podcast. I wanted to get more information out there on the business itself and what opportunities sonographers have in the industry. And so it's been so fun doing that. And I notice so much when I'm on calls with sonographers that are considering starting their business. Really, they have so much more knowledge just being able to really get into that content and learn more about what the options are that they have out there.
That's awesome. We definitely do appreciate everything that you do, because just becoming a sonographer is really hard in itself.
Yeah.
And then two, we don't even know, I think, beyond the schooling and being a sonographer, to have a business and to be able to do that. I think it's something that is needed, and you are an excellent resource for everyone who's listening. I get a ton of questions from people who want to have their own business. So if you guys are interested, she is Advanced Imaging Inc., and she's got that podcast there. Where would you say people would need to start if they wanted to have a business?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. And I think you hit the nail on the head. A lot of times we don't realize that's an option. And I hear that a lot from people. It's something that they love and they adore the patient care. A lot of times people are looking to start their own business because maybe they're in a situation with their current employer that is just not as fulfilling anymore. Maybe they're sick of taking call, or maybe they're a new mom and they really want something where they can spend more time with their family and not have, the stress of the current place that they're in. There's 1,000 different reasons that I hear about, regularly when I'm talking with people. But I would say when people are considering starting their own business, really one of the first things that you need to look at is your market. So what does your market look like in your area? What type of business model do you want? That's one of the things I think is so interesting, is there's really about 8 different main business models you can really look at as a sonographer starting your own business, from mobile ultrasound to 3D ultrasound, having your own facility. I've got clients that go into patients' homes. I have other clients that work with corporations to do screenings for their employees. There's just so many cool ways you can really utilize your skills in a way that is really the way you want to be providing patient care services. And so I think that first step is really to look at your market based on your business model and see if that opportunity looks like it's viable in your area.
Honestly, like this is like very far for me because I'm still a student and I'm
Yes.
almost done. So this is mostly yours and Giselle's kind of like expertise. But I was just wondering, like, how did you get started into business coaching? And is your or is advanced imaging like exclusively for just for sonography, or do you do other types of imaging as well for like
Yeah.
businesses for different type of imaging?
That's a great question. So I would say almost all of our clients are in sonography. We have some clients who have then branched out into other types of imaging or services into physician practices. So I have some clients that have added in things like EKG or nerve conduction studies, or added in X-ray because they noticed their, groups in their area, their community was in need of those services. I think just as a side note, that's something that is so exciting as a business owner, is realizing that your revenue potential when you are the one in the driver's seat really is unlimited. Because when we work for someone else, our revenue potential, right, what we can make is based on what they'll pay us, right? But when you get out and you're running your own business, you really can start with that main business model. And then as you start growing and learning in your community and the different types of services that your physician offices need, or your community as a whole is in need of, you can start adding those in and really start increasing revenue streams that are coming into your business. But really, to answer your question, Lynn, the reason we got started in business coaching is because when we first started our mobile ultrasound business, we did not know what we were doing. I tell my clients this all the time. Everything I coach is from experience, and usually it's from me doing the wrong thing forever and then figuring out that was just a terrible idea, Jennifer. You should have done it this way. But when you start your business and you don't have someone who's been there, who has a tried and true, here's the plan, here's exactly how you need to assess, here's exactly how you need to move forward, here's the steps you need to take, you are winging it. And there's nothing wrong with that, except it always takes a lot more time and a ton more money to do that, because you have to really learn as you go. And so we started our coaching division because we would randomly get sonographers that would contact us. They'd find us online, our mobile ultrasound business, and say, I'd love to start this, but I have no idea where to even begin. I know the patient care side. I know how to speak with physicians about the cases themselves, but I don't know how to sell my services. I don't know anything about the, back end part of the business. How did you guys do that? And so we had enough of those coming in that we thought, man, we need to really start telling people how to put this together, because we knew at that time, and gosh, you guys, I've been doing this for so long, that like mobile ultrasound machines were not really a thing when we first started our business. Okay. Yeah. This is how old I am. And so we knew this was going to be a really cool new opportunity, because when we very first started our business, we were actually a facility. Mobile wasn't really a thing. And so we started as an ultrasound facility, and our goal there was to be, for lack of a better word, kind of a more boutique place that people could come where they didn't feel like they were at the hospital getting run through, back to back with other patients. We wanted it to be comfortable. And we had a lot at that time of pregnant patients that were coming in, and they loved the service because it was really kind of catered towards them and making them feel comfortable in the office. And so when things got smaller and mobile became a thing, it made a lot of sense to us to go out into the physician practices, because when you're a referral destination, patients are going to a bunch of other referral destinations too, right? But if you go into the actual physician practice, now you're gaining almost 100% of their ultrasound patients. And so we knew that was going to be an exciting new thing, and we didn't want people to make all the mistakes that we had made when we started. And so we started our coaching division really to help other sonographers have a very tried and true plan on how to start, operate, and grow their businesses.
That's awesome.
It's
Also,
been fun.
you do not
Definitely
look that
keeps me
old.
busy. What'd you say, Lynn? I'm sorry.
I just say also you do not look that old. You
Well,
say you look
thank
older,
you.
but you
I
look
was
like you're in
thinking
your
the same
30s.
thing.
I know. I'm
You're
just like,
so
what?
young.
You guys are too nice to me. It's my, nightly creams that I've been putting on for years.
Oh my goodness. Well, we want to really thank you for what you do because one, it takes, I know, a lot of effort to even just have a business, but two, to even go out there on social media and do all the things that you do. So obviously with social media being a newer thing, how has that been for you navigating the podcast and Instagram and all of that? Because we definitely want, I mean, for me, it's a dream to have a business, right? And I feel like for a lot of sonographers as well, it is a dream as well, because then you think about all the other aspects, the business part of it. There's hospitals and there's other people trying to do the same thing. It's just a thought that I think a lot of us will eventually have. So how has it been just kind of putting yourself out there on social media and kind of just doing your thing? Because you're doing it. And I really love the videos and everything that you're helping everybody with.
Thanks, Giselle. I really appreciate that. It's so funny because I talk to clients all the time about doing the uncomfortable thing, right? So when you're a sonographer, your wheelhouse is patient care, speaking with physicians about your cases, right? Like that is what you are. That's what you do well at. But when you are trying then to shift that into having your own business and having to go out there and put yourself out there and get uncomfortable marketing and selling your services, it's tough to do. It really is. And so I love that question because I have gotten so far past that. I could walk into a room of 20 doctors and sell my service today because I've done it so many times before. Now, when I first started doing it, I'd sit in my car chewing my fingernails about tears in my eyes because I hated it so much. So I definitely remember those days, but it's just like anything else. Once you do something over and over again, you get good at it and you feel comfortable at it, just like sonography school, right? It's nerve-wracking. And Lynn, you're in it right now. So you know how difficult it is right now, but you're going to get better and better and better, just like we all do when we do something new. And so social media and the podcast was that way for me. It had been a really long time since I'd been uncomfortable in situations. And, like I said, I'm an old lady girl. So when we first started, it was like MySpace and it was just for people. Like your business wasn't on MySpace. Okay. So that was a big transition for me. And I feel like I'm kind of a private person anyway. I think I seem really extroverted on social media, probably, and in my podcast and stuff. And I like to say I'm an extroverted introvert, if that makes any sense, right? So I'm a fairly private person. So yeah, going out there and kind of putting myself out there and was nerve-wracking. And I didn't know how the podcast was going to go, but I knew I spent most of my time when I'd have a call with someone who was considering starting their own business. Those calls at that time, they'd last an hour because I'd have to spend 30 or 40 minutes explaining the business itself, how it even worked, what it looked like, right? How you even provide those kind of services. And so it was just a real goal of mine getting on social media and then getting my podcast out there to give people the information that they were trying so hard to look for, but couldn't find anywhere. And so nerve-wracking at first, but now I absolutely love it. We did a masterclass earlier today for our community. It's just been so much fun. And I think it's really helped people either realize, yes, this is a great idea and I want to take that leap into business ownership, Or now that I know kind of what that looks like, I don't know if it's for me. And that's my goal, is to really be that person that can say, hey, here is how it is. Here's what you need to look at. And really be, like I said, kind of the Google for ultrasound, so they can find all that information in one place without having to get so stressed about the research side of it.
That's awesome. Yes. Where can they find you, your podcast and everything? If someone that was listening right now and was like, hey, I want to talk to Jennifer, how do I talk to her?
Absolutely. I would love to talk. So come find me over on Instagram. My handle over there is Advanced Imaging Inc., INC. And then my podcast is called Talking Tech. And it is all over the place. So Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, wherever else they have podcasts. I think it's on all the podcast places. But I do have in the link in my bio on Instagram a link to the podcast. I've got a link also over to my website as well, where we've got tons of different programs. So my goal really is to be kind of that person for everybody at every stage. There's going to be people that are just trying to look. They're not ready to spend any money yet on their business, right? They're trying to see if this is a good idea for them. So we have tons of free content on social media, the podcast, master classes that I do. And then we also have coaching programs as well. So I have some for like the research phase, where people are trying to figure out, how do I figure out what my market looks like? How do I do a market analysis? What are my options for starting a business? What are those 8 different business models? And how do I kind of work through all that? So we've got some entry-level courses there for people that are really trying to put all that stuff together, figure out, what is the cost of starting a business? What's my revenue potential, my ongoing business expenses? All of that is in that starter course. And then I've got some more advanced courses as well for people who are actually, the answer is yes to starting their business, but they don't know where to go next. And so we've got some amazing programs that have one-on-one coaching with me. So I'm working with my clients, day in and day out, directly answering their questions as they're coming up with, inevitably the roadblocks and questions, and just wanting to make sure that they're on the right path for everything. So yeah, there's all that information and can be found on the website or links over on Instagram.
And are you available in all states?
Yes. Yes, that's a great question. So, and depending on the business model, there are some business models where contracts are required. Everyone listening here, I'm sure, understands how crazy the Medicare rules and regulations and all of those things can be. And so there are some business models that require contracts. Luckily, the contracts, like the federal rules and regulations, are Medicare based. And so they are federally compliant in every state because it has to do with the Medicare rules and regulations. And then there are others that don't require contracts at all. But yeah, we help sonographers in all states, all over the place.
That's awesome. Well, that's good, because obviously we want to reach out to everybody. Thank you so much for coming on and explaining all the things that you do. And, obviously there's a lot of people who have this dream to own a business. If you could give them any tips or advice for someone who wants to start a business, what would be the number one thing you would say to them?
Oh, the number one thing, this is such a hard question. I honestly would say the number one thing is to believe that you can actually do it. I think so many times our mindset plays tricks on us. And, understanding that even though it's uncomfortable doesn't mean it's dangerous, right? Our brain plays so many tricks on us. So really just having that mindset that you can do what you put your mind to. And I think then the next step after that is finding out the steps that you need to take. And that's one of the things I love about what I do, is being able to help people move through those steps so much quicker than they can on their own. But even if they're doing it on their own, just that first step is believing that they can do it and then setting out a very specific plan to accomplish what they want to do, I think really is just the number one and kind of first thing that I would say to someone looking to start their business.
That's amazing. I mean, just listening to you and like hearing how you love what you do, it makes me want to start a business, even though I know I'm nervous
I love it.
myself.
Well, I'm so glad that comes across because I am so passionate about it's where I spend all of my time. And I just absolutely love working with my clients, and, their wins are my wins. I get so excited. If they could see what I do when they send me a message that says that, I just got a message a couple of weeks ago, just put my notice in at the hospital. I mean, that to me, it could make me cry. It just makes me so excited. Or when they get their first account, or even like the little fun things when they get their logo done. That's one of the things we do for them in our Ultrasound Business Academy. We get them all set up with like all their market branding, and it's just so fun to watch. So I'm glad that comes across because it is just such a passion of mine, and I just absolutely love it.
Oh, that sounds like so much fun. It just brings me back to my business classes and marketing, and how I had to create a logo for one of my businesses in the program. But I mean, that just sounds like so much fun, things that you can learn. And for people who know or are going to be sonographers or want to be sonographers, we always try to tell them like there's so much more out there than just, scanning, than just being a technologist. There's so many different things and avenues you can take. And this is one of them that, like you said, people don't really think about when they are first going to school. And I mean, I always fancy thinking about it, like maybe I could do it. I don't know. But then you just told me to believe in myself. So,
Right. That's right.
I'm like, maybe I can. Maybe I can.
You absolutely can.
But we definitely appreciate it. If somebody was to say like, okay, like I want to do this right now, the first step, would you just tell them to just like kind of go for it? And do you recommend most sonographers to have like someone like you, like an ultrasound business coach, like to help them along the way, like, or is there something that they need to do, right? Because you said you wanted to be there for someone if they were to Google something.
Right.
And there's all these choices, like where would you have them start, for example?
Yeah. So that's a great question. I would say it depends on where they're at in the process, right? If someone listening right now is like, I think I want to start a business, but I'm not really sure, I would say the best place to start is listen to my podcast. Come follow me over on Instagram so that you can learn more and gather all that free information. That way you kind of understand what the industry looks like, how the business is going to work, what it's going to be set up like, what your revenue potential is. I talk about that a lot. I've got a whole podcast on how to make $1,000 a day in your mobile ultrasound business. I've got a free guide on that too. So it just really runs down everything for someone who's just kind of thinking about it, thinking it might be a cool idea, but wanting more information. Someone who's in the research phase that's like, okay, I really am pretty sure I want to start my business, but I want to get like more information before I make that investment. Because anytime we start any kind of business, there's an investment, right? We have to get all of the things together, whatever our business model is, right? If we're doing, let's say, a 3D facility, we've got to have the location, we have to have the furniture, we have to have our ultrasound machine. If we're doing mobile ultrasound, we've got to have contracts and sales and marketing training and all of the different things that come with that. So any business, owning a McDonald's, like any of the things you ever do in your life that's owning a business, you're going to have to put an investment in. And so many people say, okay, before I do that initial startup investment, I really want to know the foundations, right? What my market looks like. As I mentioned earlier, what my market looks like. I need to put together a business plan. I need to understand what my startup costs are going to be so that I can make sure that I've got that amount or get a loan or whatever they're going to do to finance the business. And so in that scenario, yes, either putting that together on their own, trying to figure that out, or like I said, I've got that course that I absolutely love. It's a newer one that I've put together specific for that reason. And then once they're ready to actually start the business, I love, working with people either through the Ultrasound Business Academy, or I have strategy sessions for other types of business models. The Ultrasound Business Academy is really focused specifically on mobile ultrasound, fee for service, where you go out, provide the services in the physician practice, and the doctor bills, and you just charge the office a service fee for coming in. And then, yes, I would suggest having a coach, and not just because that's what I do. Really, it's not a shameless plug. I didn't have one to show me what to do, and it took me so much longer. So having someone who's been there before and knows what steps you need to take is going to save so much time and save so much money. It really is a lesser investment actually for clients to work with me than if they did it on their own, just because there's so much involved that we give them with that program. So yeah, again, I'm not just saying that because that's what I do. I'm not being biased, but really it is so helpful because it does save so much time and so much money putting it all together.
No, it definitely is. What you're saying is right, because also this is why Lynn and I do what we do. We try to help those who had, me and Lynn, we didn't have anyone to go to back then. And now we want to be those people to help those get through their programs and figure out if ultrasound really is for them. So really, you're doing exactly the same thing, providing the resources and helping them. So definitely, you guys, if you are considering a business, even one day in the future, or even just thinking about it, go ahead to her page, listen to her podcast, absolutely free information. And we always tell people, do your research. And there's just so much out there. We really do appreciate everything that you do, especially for coming from all of us sonographers, because I know it makes a lot of their lives easier too.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Yes, and I want to say, because this month is also Medical Ultrasound Awareness Month, and it's so great to have you on here for your time, because I know you're super busy because you're a businesswoman, and what you are presenting on this episode is like a new avenue, like Giselle said, for sonography that we haven't talked about in our podcast, which has been going on for a year now. So this is very helpful to those who are listening, and it's great for us in a way that we're celebrating Medical Ultrasound Awareness Month.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much. It's been just an absolute honor and pleasure to be on, and that's so exciting. And what a perfect month to be talking about a new avenue for sonographers for Ultrasound Awareness Month, for sure.
Yes, we're so grateful. We're so thankful. So we definitely are. I'm going to let everyone know to go to your page and just show them how much effort it is that you put into your work and what you do. Just as much, we need you just as much as anybody needs ultrasound. Business is hard. I think people don't realize, we think it'll be easy to have a business one day, but then when they look at everything else, all the little details, it is actually much harder than they think.
It is. And so many things that, I always tell people, you don't know what you don't know. A lot of times you get into things and you're like, oh, I didn't even consider that I had to put this together or think about that or have protocols for this. So yeah, it's definitely a lot of work, but making sure that you've got that plan in place can make it not easy, but so much easier, putting it together and knowing what steps you've got to take.
Exactly. Yes, we appreciate it so much. And thank you for giving us your time. And you guys don't forget to check out her podcast and go follow her over on Instagram.
Thank you so much, ladies.
Thank you. We hope you have a good night.
Have a good night.
You as well.
Thank you.